So as predicted, the PS5 Pro specs have leaked. It was only a matter of time with the dev kits in the hands of the developers that it would soon leak to the public. And we have reputable sources who have been able to verify the accuracy of these leaked specs. But it's not all being met with celebration and excitement. There is quite a bit to discuss here. So first, I want to look at the specs and the claims being made. The boost to performance sounds very promising if it actually is delivered, but not everybody is convinced we're going to see the boost in performance that are being boasted. Second, I want to look at the reactions to this because I was honestly struck by how much negativity and arguments that I saw about this from a wide spectrum of consumers, right? There's people who own a PS5, there's those who consider themselves PC gamers, and then there are those who are sort of on the Xbox side of things, and everybody's weighing in with different opinions. Now, lastly, I will tell you what I think. In my previous PS5 Pro coverage, I talked about how I thought the device would be market disruptive, primarily because it sounded like another effort from PlayStation to target specifically what developers wanted. And I have said for a very long time that they can't win a spending war against Microsoft, but they can certainly win the content war if they convince a lot of developers to come and build for their platform. So first, what were the leaked specs? So we have to go to Insider Gaming for this, and I'm going to Insider Gaming because Tom Henderson got a lot of grief when he leaked the Project Q Lite, which ended up being the PlayStation Portal. And when the PlayStation Portal was announced, he flexed a little bit and he said, yeah, I wonder if people are going to believe my PS5 Pro claims now, right? The latest round of leaks started with the YouTube channel Moore's Law is Dead. Now, in the past, that channel has leaked things that turned out to not be accurate. So many, myself included, we didn't put a whole lot of stock into the claims being made by Moore's Law is Dead about this PS5 Pro. But Tom Henderson is reporting and saying that this is in fact accurate. And again, I'm giving Tom Henderson his flowers because he broke this way before everybody else did and everybody cast doubt on him. Well, I think now you can start to believe this guy actually has sources, and said the following in their report. He said, speaking with sources who wish to remain anonymous because they were not authorized to talk about company plans, we can confirm that the leaked documentation from the YouTube channel Moore's Law is Dead is real. Now, Tom Henderson even acknowledges that Moore's Law, they've been criticized in the past, but according to Insider Gaming, the info has been vetted. Quote, Insider Gaming can confirm that the documentation leaked is from a PlayStation developer portal, which was sent out this week to a wider band of third-party developers. So basically what happened is, and Tom Henderson predicted this, he said, listen, once these dev kits get out in circulation, we're going to have our hands on the specs. It's just a matter of time. Somebody's going to leak it, right? Now, he was good to mention his previous reporting on this. He says, in early 2023, I reported via Key to Gaming that the PS5 Pro is under the codename Trinity and will be targeting improved and consistent FPS at 4K resolution, a new performance mode for 8K resolution, and accelerated ray tracing. Now, I remember that specific part about the accelerated ray tracing. All of my research into ray tracing pointed to the fact that developers were continuing to gravitate toward ray tracing due to its streamlining and improving the lighting work. Now, for a while, I thought ray tracing was just a resource hog, just a gimmick to try to get people to buy games, but it's becoming more and more popular with developers for a reason. They like using it. So a console that was setting its sights on accelerating and improving ray tracing, I thought would be very appealing to developers and would cause market disruption, making devs gravitate towards building for PlayStation. Now, let's look at the newly leaked, and these specs are vetted. It will be rendering 45% faster than the PS5, 2 to 3 times better ray tracing, 4 times in some cases, 33.5 teraflops, this thing called PSSR, which is PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution Upscaling. It's an upscaling and anti-aliasing solution. Support for resolutions up to 8K is planned for future SDK version. Custom machine learning architecture, AI accelerator supporting 300 TOPS of 8-bit computation, 67 teraflops of 16-bit floating point. I have no idea what some of that even means, okay? But that's what's being leaked. But I can understand some of it. 45% better rendering or faster rendering, 2 to 3 times ray tracing, and the PSSR, the PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution Upscaling, that's potentially the proprietary AI upscaling that we have heard about previously, because the previous leaks about the fact that it was coming this year indicated that it was going to have some type of an AI upscaling solution. Now, apparently Insider Gaming was able to verify how long these dev kits had been in circulation. They said Insider Gaming, who has also shared documentation from the developer portal under the condition that it is not shared publicly or privately, can also confirm that dev kits have been available to first-party studios since September of 2023, third-party since January of 2024, and from spring 2024, test kits will also be available, which will be identical to the final product. So the specs are hitting the public because 3 months ago, dev kits started landing at third-party developers. Now, something Tom Henderson said would likely lead to the leaks happening. He said this, months ago. Now, this was obviously inviting lots of questions about the price, about the level of performance. Will we even get that level of performance from a console? Like, we hear 8K and we're like, are you serious, right? The average pre-built gaming PC that you could buy at like Best Buy or Amazon isn't really even targeting this level of performance. We're not seeing gaming rigs out here talking about 4K 60 or 8K. If you go shopping for a pre-built gaming PC, the price range is going to be anywhere from $800 to about $1,600, and then obviously you can go way higher than that if you want. So we could be looking at something below that price point, $600 or $700, able to tout performance that you just don't see really anywhere else. And if it hits holiday of this year, it could be something that's very appealing to the average consumer. Now, obviously, the more engaged gamers can build their own PCs, they can target higher performance, they can buy the brand new graphics cards when they come out. But even then, you're not going to be spending $600 or $700. You might spend that on a couple of pieces for your computer, right? Even those who build their computers in bargain hunt are going to have a very hard time getting something in this price range. Now, something I've always said is the average consumer is going to be drawn to the simplicity of a console, especially when the price point is so much lower than the PCs they might see when they're walking through Best Buy or if they're searching on Amazon. I remember helping my brother get a gaming PC, and they were quite a bit more expensive than just buying a console. And I remember that giving him pause. He was like, well, why don't I just get the boys a console, because it's just so much more expensive. Now, because we are seeing this huge spectrum of response to this announcement, I think that's related to it, right? PC gamers, Xbox gamers are like, they're about to have something that is not really seen in the market right now. Now, just yesterday, though, I've got to add a teeny bit more. I added this to my monologue just this morning. Just yesterday, Insider Gaming posted more specs and more info. So I'm going to quickly give you the high points from that, and he talks about the memory changes, and it says the PlayStation 5 Pro's system memory is more efficient than the standard console, so the bandwidth gain may increase by over 28%. Now, this should obviously be very useful. Now, on the CPU, it is the same CPU, but they're going to be running it in a high CPU frequency mode. More power is then allocated to the CPU, and it will downclock the GPU by about 1.5%, resulting in roughly 1% lower GPU performance. Now, keep in mind, this isn't saying 1% lower than the standard PS5, because the GPU stats are still listed as 45% faster rendering than the standard PS5, 2 to 3 times the ray tracing, and 33.5 teraflops, okay? The last thing Insider Gaming had to say about this is they said that it is also understood, this is them here quoting it, that as a means to make the PlayStation 5 Pro as competitive, that's a quote, that's not their phrasing, that's something that they've heard. They want to make the PS5 Pro as competitive as possible. It will have a detachable disk drive, which will be identical to the latest iteration of the standard PlayStation 5, and 1 terabyte of storage space. So that is literally everything that we know about this machine, okay? And the reactions, they've been all over the place, okay? So let's walk through some of the reactions that I've seen. So I put out a tweet just asking, what do you guys think about the PS5 Pro, and why is there so much negativity? Okay, because that tweet got way more views than I expected. It's like almost like 100,000 views. I'm just asking about the PS5 Pro and the negativity. Now, the first and most common response that I always see anytime this subject comes up is, this is so unnecessary. We've barely gotten any games for the PS5. I continue to see the second portion of that claim made. I continue to see people say, we haven't even really gotten any games for the PS5. Now, first, arguing against it being necessary or unnecessary, I just think is a strange way to categorize a mid-gen upgrade. It's completely optional for those who want the best, right? Like when a brand new graphics card comes out, no one's like, this is completely unnecessary. It's, well, if you want to upgrade, you can, or you can continue to use the GPU that you have now. This is not that different, right? We're 4 years into the life cycle of this console. How often are you upgrading your phone? How often can you upgrade your phone, right? Pretty much every year. Now, to counter much of the false narrative around this generation, I do want to speak to that, right? This idea that we haven't gotten games or we haven't gotten the performance that we were promised, I just think this is completely made up. PlayStation Studios have consistently delivered on the promises of higher resolution, higher frame rates, and no more loading screens. To pretend that Demon's Souls Remake, Returnal, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, Horizon Forbidden West, God of War Ragnarok, The Burning Shores DLC, Gran Turismo 7, Spider-Man 2, to act like these games have not delivered amazing next-gen performances, I just think that that is dishonest. You don't have to like the games, but if you look at their performances and what they offer, from the quality to the resolution to the performance modes, it's just ludicrous. It's dishonest. You're not representing history accurately. I didn't even mention the Last of Us 1 remake or the Last of Us 2 remastered or Death Stranding and Ghost of Tsushima director's cuts. I've gotten 60 FPS, zero loading screen, beautiful looking next-gen experiences the entire time that the PlayStation 5 has been out. Even Helldivers 2, which is sort of taking the live service world by storm, it delivers a very great looking cinematic experience that I've not really seen before in a 4-player online co-op game. I've consistently remarked about the lighting specifically in Helldivers 2. So those who feel like they didn't really get any PS5 games yet, I'm not sure what you've been playing. I'm not sure what you were expecting. Now, I didn't even mention games like Final Fantasy or Resident Evil or Alan Wake. Like, these games have delivered stunning games this generation, and based on initial impressions, Stellar Blade is going to be another great-looking next-gen game this year. Now, I'll admit, Rise of the Ronin, not so much. We'll talk about that later with Kirk in a separate stream. So I don't agree with the insistence that we haven't gotten enough games or that the games have failed to deliver on the next-gen promises. This is usually moved by, or made by moving goalposts and acting like, well, because a game is cross-generationally supported, that it didn't deliver next-gen performance, next-gen graphics, or new next-gen features. This is just completely untrue. I believe folks are trying to paint with a broad brush every time a game comes out and it fails to hit 60 FPS or it has performance issues. They try to pretend that, yeah, this entire generation's been a disappointment. We're not getting 60 FPS. We're not getting good performance. Yeah, well, maybe if you don't have a PlayStation, that's true, but I haven't had any issue with any of the games I purchased on PS5, with the exception of combat is great in Final Fantasy 16. When you leave it, it's not so much. That performance mode just needs an update. Why not update it to better versions of FSR? And then, obviously, Jedi Survivor. But outside of those instances, this generation has been very satisfying with respect to fidelity and performance from my perspective. You have to ignore a very long list of games that have delivered 60 FPS, good performance, great quality modes. You have to ignore all that to claim this generation just hasn't delivered. Now, on the same token as believing that the PS5 Pro is unnecessary, I saw somebody say, well, only 2 games are going to take advantage of the PS5 Pro. The PlayStation 5 is strong enough. Listen, I'm honestly glad that a lot of folks seem to think that the PS5 is perfectly suited for their needs. It means that they're satisfied. They're a customer that's happy with their PlayStation 5. It's going to make it a whole lot easier for folks like me to get a PS5 Pro when it comes out. Some folks attempted to answer my question about, like, what's with all the negativity that we were seeing about the PS5 Pro, and they said Xbox fans and PC Master Race gamers are just jealous. It's certainly hard not to notice that the trend of hardcore PC guys and hardcore Xbox guys are kind of linking arm in arm to consistently speak negatively about anything that PlayStation does. They're strange bedfellows, but they are seemingly partners in this effort. I just don't understand why they care. If your PC is so great, who cares if PlayStation fans buy or want a stronger console? And if you're a hardcore Xbox fan, why do you care? Every screen's an Xbox, right? This is just another screen for consumers to play Xbox games on. Whenever like a new GPU hits the market, I don't find myself caring to comment about why people buy it or why people spend money constantly upgrading their hardware, because it just doesn't concern me. I don't care to comment on how often people upgrade their phones. Like, how dare they do that? Why are you doing that? You're getting ripped off. Like, it just doesn't concern me. It isn't in the gaming realm or the realm of concern that I operate in. So it just seems strange how preoccupied some folks are with what PlayStation does or what fans of PlayStation, tend to do. Really feeling like that stop having fun meme, if you've seen that, where somebody like walks in the room and they're like, stop having fun. That just really feels like it's getting rooted into the gaming spaces lately, where, people are just angry that folks are having a good time or buying products that they like. Like first it was Helldivers 2, and now it's the PS5 Pro. I guess we're not supposed to buy products or play games that we enjoy, which I think some have diagnosed this as jealousy. They said, listen, this isn't negativity, it's jealousy. Right? And I don't like to project emotional states onto other people, but as someone who was very disappointed with the Series X this generation, if it was my primary console, I would definitely feel a certain kind of way about how PlayStation is treating the console consumer versus how I have been treated, right? If that's where I primarily gamed, because my Series X hasn't gotten very much action at all since I bought it, I would be pretty irritated. If I was a hardcore PC guy, I just don't think I would be bothered. There was a time where I primarily played on PC. I was playing for Destiny 2 and Fortnite. I wanted 60 FPS, and I couldn't get that on the consoles at the time. It never bothered me that folks continued to prefer console. It didn't bother me that they preferred 30 FPS. Even today, there are people who aren't bothered by 30 FPS, and I just don't care. It's just a preference thing. Play where you want and spend your money how you want. I do have to point out, though, how much of the Xbox hardware narrative has changed. For a while, there was confidence that there would be a mid-gen refresh, and then there was the rumor of something coming out in 2026. Now this is all being decried as unnecessary and a cash grab and just a complete waste. Some are setting their sights on the next generation of hardware from Xbox as opposed to getting some kind of a mid-gen refresh. I would caution folks against thinking that there's going to be a high-end console competitor from Xbox in the future. The language about big technical leap could be anything, and the leaks from Xbox seem to point to a console cloud hybrid. As someone who likes to buy the latest hardware, whether it's the Nintendo Switch 2 or PS5 Pro or even the latest Xbox, I think the hardware console market is going to look very different in 5 years. There will not be a traditional standoff between Xbox and Sony, and the Switch is just going to continue to do what it does with the Switch 2 that is likely landing in early 2025. So let me give you my thoughts on this, okay? First, I want to say, my previous coverage about the PS5 Pro being market disruptive, I didn't imagine it would be disruptive in the gaming community space and that people would get so invested in the conversation and that it would become so divisive. When the PS4 Pro dropped, I was not paying much attention to commentary, to complaints, or to criticisms from the gaming world, but it did launch without any titles specifically for it. We went back and looked. Like when the PS4 Pro landed, there were no games that were like specifically upgraded for it, and that is something that many have inquired about the PS5 Pro. Now, it's possible that's why we are seeing this gap from first-party studios. Like, there's no first-party studios launching a game this year, it seems, except for maybe Concord. They have been maybe potentially updating their games to harness the power of the PS5 Pro, because they've had the dev kits longer. So that's a potential theory I'm throwing out there as to why first-party studios are seemingly taking this year off, and then if a bunch of their games land next year and they're all optimized for the PS5 Pro, well, we'll have our answer. So why do I want a PS5 Pro? Well, it's fairly simple. I like having the latest and greatest as a content creator, but I would also want one as a gamer. Even if I was not a YouTuber, I would have gravitated toward PS5 this generation. And a new and updated PS5 that can give me better performance, I would be sold on that. But the mistake many are making is that they're assuming consumers who want a PS5 Pro are doing it out of dissatisfaction with the standard PlayStation 5. Well, no, it's quite the opposite. The PS5 did such a good job delivering on the promises of this gen that I trust to upgrade to the new one and that it will be worth it, which has caused many to ask about the standard PS5. Will it suddenly be an anchor or a problem? Will it suddenly be put into the back seat? Many have wrongly compared this situation to the Series S and the Series X situation. The massive difference is that the PlayStation 5 has delivered a solid baseline for next-gen games. all first-party games from PlayStation Studios have landed with fantastic quality modes and performance modes, and most of the third-party games have done the same. Games like Final Fantasy XVI and Jedi Survivor have their rough spots, but overall, the PS5 has proven itself to, in my opinion, be the best next-gen console for the last 4 years. And if this is the floor for the rest of the generation, then I'm not concerned at all. If games continue to come out and look like what we've gotten in Burning Shores or Spider-Man 2, I'm totally fine with that. I think that's a great ground for your performance, and then you can go up from there, right? As long as standard PlayStation 5 owners continue to get performance and fidelity from first-party studios that we've already seen the last 4 years, then I just don't see any issues here. And on that topic, many have expressed concern that GTA 6 will only get 60 FPS on the PS5 Pro, that both the Series X and the standard PS5 will have to be 30 FPS. Now, given the footage that we've seen so far in the scope of GTA 6, I definitely understand the concern, right? The idea that this game's going to struggle to get good performance on these consoles. Now, if Rockstar went so big and they went ambitious with GTA 6 and they have to cap the game at 30 FPS on PS5 and Series X, well, that's a choice that they made. Just like when Gotham Knights did it, when Redfall did it, when Plague Tale Requiem did it, when Starfield did it. Now, yes, Redfall and Plague Tale added 60 FPS modes later, but those were developer choices, not indictments of Xbox or PlayStation or the consoles themselves. Even Dragon's Dogma 2 is launching this week at 30 FPS on next-gen consoles. This has nothing to do with the PS5 Pro or the consoles. It has to do with the vision and the ambition of developers. If GTA 6 is optimized for the PS5 Pro and it runs the best there, I actually do think that will be a huge market advantage for PlayStation, which leads to the final question. What about the price? I see folks that are throwing around $600, some are throwing around $700. I believe it will likely land on the $600 price point, and I think the market will bear that. The early adopters, the folks that always want the latest tech, well, they're going to be the first in line. So to those who say it isn't necessary or that it would be better, you'd be better off buying a PC. Listen, thanks for getting out of the way and making it easier for the rest of us to buy one. Game where you want and buy what you want, and I will do the same. But that's just my take. What's yours?